At this point, your colonists have probably spent some time doing things other than necessarily carrying out your orders. We haven't really issued enough orders to keep everyone busy all the time, and when your colonists have downtime, they'll do whatever sorts of things they feel like doing. We could take a look at one of our colonists by using the tile inspection tool just as we did before and clicking on one of our individual people. This will bring up all sorts of additional information about that person. In our case, we're going to look at Magnae Fantaloons, and you can see the items that they have, you can see their shift activities and all sorts of things, but what we're going to focus on right now is their activity data. All humans in Outer Colony have two sorts of shifts that they can be on, a work shift and a leisure shift. When they're on a work shift, they'll spend their time carrying out orders and generally doing the things that you tell them to do. When they're on a leisure shift, they'll pick out their own goals and they'll do the sorts of things that they want to do. Like, if they're hungry, they'll eat food. If they're lonely, they'll socialize. Whatever they decide they want to do. It's just sort of like in the real world when if you're at a job, you're doing work. When you're off work, it's leisure time and you can do whatever sorts of things you feel like doing. So if we click this Configure Shifts and Activities button, we can see the details of how all of this works. This individual's work shift starts at hour 6 and ends at 23. So most colonists by default work most of the day and only have a fairly short amount of time for their leisure shifts. You can click on Configure Shift Activities to prioritize the things that you want them to do, to enable and disable certain activities, and all the different kinds of work and professions can be found in here. By default, when your colonists start out, they'll all engage in all activities, but you can fine-tune this for your individuals. And later on, there's an automated way to set up bureaucrats who can manage all of this stuff for you. You'll probably want to leave these configurations alone for the beginning, but it's important to be aware of how these people work, how they decide on what their goals are going to be at any point in time, so that you can better control this moving forward. If you want to see other data about a human, you can select anything you want from this drop-down. So suppose you want to see body data, you can see what their hands are composed of, you can see the wound data for all of the different body parts, you can see the memories that the person has. This person has a criminal past, so that's some of your migrants will have done things in the past before they arrive that will affect their behaviors moving forward. You can see their memories as they go through a day and their lives, their personal preferences. These are the items that'll make them the most happy, the sorts of things they look for in romantic partners. Their personality governs all sorts of things about what they do. Their physical properties determine, again, more of their behaviors and how they execute them. The skills that they've managed to accrue throughout their life. You can see their social data, who they've interacted with, how they feel about them, and their state data will show you their hunger, thirst, tiredness, any diseases they have. There's a great wealth of information here, and it's outside the scope of these tutorials to cover it all, but this is all of the important data that governs how individuals function in Outer Colony. Now, with that said, when your colonists are on their downtime and they're not necessarily doing work, one of their favorite things to do is generally to socialize. And you can see over here in the event view that there are all sorts of socialization events that have occurred. You can click on any one of these items in the event view and click on the View Event Details button to see more information about it. So this is looking at the result of a socialization activity, and you can see that Gunter has socialized with Pisha's doorbell, and you can see that the interaction was considered positive. And your expedition personnel will be socializing all the time and building up relationships with each other that govern how they behave. You can see here that there is a romantic relationship where these two have now gotten together and are romantic partners. If you want to see the lay of your land as an expedition as a whole, you can click on the information option at the menu bar at the top of the screen, and this will show you all sorts of data about your colony, and as your colony progresses, it'll become very important to look at this stuff. But if you click on the colony social network visualization, it'll bring up a map of how your colonists are all related to each other right now. So we can see that we've got one romantic partnership between these two, a whole bunch of acquaintances and mutual acquaintances. Magnae Fantaloons and Gunter do not get along with each other, so they have already decided that they're enemies. That can be problematic in a bunch of different ways, but this gives you an idea of how your colonists are interacting with each other. This is an immature social network. They haven't had a lot of time to socialize, so there aren't a lot of complex relationships in here yet. But this is something that's important to keep an eye on as you progress, because this has a very large impact on the overall behavior of your colonists. So this is just a quick overview of how to check out some of this data, how to see some of the details of what's going on, and to monitor the initial socialization and make sure that things are generally on the right track for all of your people. They'll have to socialize. It's a fundamental need of all humans. If they don't socialize for too long of a period of time, it'll adversely affect them in progressively more severe ways and can even result in them ceasing to function from excessive loneliness. So that's just a quick overview of how to check out some of this data and something that you can keep an eye on as your colonists engage in their own leisure activities.